G'day everyone, welcome to the Eternal Gathering here with another modern deck tech for you guys. And today we're doing Valakutshift. So basically Scapeshift with Primeval Titan. So Scapeshift is probably one of the more dominating decks in the modern meta at the moment, along with Tron. These two decks seem to be all over the place at the moment. Urapaz is another deck that has been seeing a lot of play as well. I thought we'd go through today with this Valakutshift deck and show you how it works, talk about how it works, and also talk about the matchups and how to work that out, how to win against certain archetypes in the format. So we'll start with creatures. We got 4 Sakura Tribe Elders. So your Tribe Elders are here to basically ramp. You're ramping a lot in this deck. So you can use it as a blocker on turn 2, and then if they attack into it, you can block and then sacrifice it to get the get the land into the battlefield tapped. And if not, you can always sack it at the end of their turn. So that is ramp. Curse of Crucifix, a bit of life gain. Also be ability to play the cards off top of your library if they're lands to get an extra land drop. Can be relevant later game, but basically you'll be playing this in your main board and keeping it in your main board if you're up against any burn decks, any decks that are trying to do direct damage to you, because the life gain will help you in the long run. Otherwise, you can just sideboard this card out most of the time for game 2 and 3 if you're not playing those kind of strategies. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is relatively new to this deck, and it's basically now the best card in this deck. So it has the ability which makes all your lands every basic land type, and then you can play an additional land on each of your turns. So both are very relevant and both work very well with this deck. So the main thing here is the making every land that you control basic land type in addition to its other types. So therefore making everything a mountain. And that is very relevant because we're obviously playing Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, which reads, whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, you control at least 5 other mountains. You may have Valakut do 3 damage to target creature or player. So if you're playing any lands and you have a Valakut out on the battlefield and you have 6 lands altogether, you're going to be doing 3 damage each time that you play a land from then on in. And it's really basically a game-winning combo if you play this with Scapeshift and you have 6 lands. You just outright win the game at that point. Primeval Titan, it's still quite strong in this deck. 6 mana for a 6/6 trample creature that lets you search for any lands and put it in the battlefield tapped. Only 2 lands, and then when it attacks, it does the same thing. So you're obviously searching for your Valakuts at that point if you don't have them, but if you do have the Valakuts, then you're just searching for mountain lands. We'll go to the lands next because the lands obviously are very important. So apart from your 4 Valakut of the Molten Pinnacle, we've got 1 Vesuva, which can come into battlefield tapped as any copy of any land. So you can make this a 5th copy of Valakut if you have a Valakut already in battlefield, or another copy of a mountain card. Then you've got 3 basic mountains. We've got your Sheltered Thicket, a 1 of. It's a way to help with Field of the Dead, as we have 1 Field of the Dead, which lets you make 2/2 black zombies if you have 7 or more different types of lands. So that's one way to help. It's also a mountain itself, so it triggers Valakut. And if you really need to draw a card, you can cycle it away for 2. Snow-covered forests and mountains are there also to help with the Field of the Dead. Stomping Ground basically is a mountain, and it also gives you the forest as well, which you may need in the early game. Water Foothills to fetch any of your mountains or your forests, and also it's quite good when you do have a Dryad of the Elysian Grove out. It acts as 2 triggers because you'll play your Wood Foothills, comes into play as a mountain, then you can sacrifice it, search for another land, which also comes back into play as a mountain to do 2 triggers of the Valakut in that 1 land. Castle Garenbrig, a one-off. You can get this, if you get this early in the game, you can get out your Primeval Titans quite early, a whole turn earlier, which it can be helpful. So it's only a one-off because we don't want to put too many non-mountain lands in this deck. Because we want most of them to be mountains so we can trigger the Valakuts. Cinderglade comes into play untapped if you control basic forest. We're getting a lot of ramp in here that looks for basic lands, so most of the time you'll be able to have 2 or more basic lands in the battlefield, allowing this to come play untapped. And then you got your 2 normal forests. So we're ramping a lot in turn 1 and through to turn 3. So turn 1, you would hopefully see a Search for Tomorrow and play that for the suspend cost, and then that will let you look for a basic land and put in play untapped. So that would happen on your 3rd turn. You got your Rampant Growth and your Fast 6, which lets you search for a mountain. Could be any mountain, this one, Fast 6, and Rampant Growth is basic land, so you're looking for a basic mountain most of the time. Along with your Secure Tribe Elder, they are your ramp spells. Then we've got Summoner's Pact to be able to search for your Dryad Elson Grove or your Primeval Titans later in the game when you have enough mana to cast them on the same turn. Lightning Bolts for some spot removal. Also, you can do extra damage to the face if needed. And then you've got your Skateshift, which in combination with Dryad Elysian Grove can win you the game if you have 6 mana. So you sacrifice a number of lands, search library for that many lands, and put in play tapped. So basically, for 4 mana, if you have 6 lands on the battlefield, you can use Skateshift, sacrifice all your 6 lands, and bring back 1 Valakut with any other lands, any other 5 lands onto the battlefield, and Dryad Elysian Grove sees them all, makes them all look like they're mountains, so they all see each other as mountains, therefore triggering Valakut 6 times, and 6 times 3 is 18 damage, and usually by that stage of the game, your opponent's shocked or fetched or something like that. 18 damage will be enough to kill them. So that's the way the game works. So like I said, turn 1, you're playing Search for Tomorrow. Turn 2, you're playing a Secure Tribe Elder, Rampant Growth, Fast Seek. Turn 3, you would then get your 1 extra land, so that will mean you're on 3 lands by that turn before you even get to draw your card. You might even have 4 lands by then as well if you played a Secure Tribe Elder, and then you're playing your 5th land drop. And if you have a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, you can go to 6 land drops on that turn 3. So turn 3 you'll have your 6 lands, and then on turn 4 you should be able to combo off or play something like a Primeval Titan as well to kind of get the extra land for triggers. Sideboard, Grafdigger's Cage, Relic of Progenitus against any decks that are running graveyard strategies like Dredge, so to get rid of their abilities to play. Veil of Summer against obviously control decks. If you're going to get countered, Veil of Summer, bring that in, and it will be able to make sure that your stuff are uncounterable basically. Cinder Vines, so this will stop you from losing the game against any Leyline of Sanctities, and also any Storm decks that might be around if they're playing Storm. This is pretty good as well, doing 1 damage to them for each spell they cast. That's a non-creature spell, and also ability to destroy any artifact or enchantment and deal 2 damage to the permanent's control as well. The Dampening Sphere is against Tron decks. So if you're versing Tron, bring this in. It's not going to affect you at all. Your Dampening Sphere, none of your lands tap for extra minus for Castle Garenbrig, and at that point you don't really want to be using Castle Garenbrig anyways for that ability. You can just easily run out your spells using the mana available to you. Fry, really good against any decks that run Teferi Time Ravelers, to stop you playing with instant speed, because sometimes you do want to play at instant speed with this deck in terms of trying to find things like Summoner's Pacts at instant speed at the end of turns, or if you want to play Lightning Bolts off the top. and deal direct damage. Also allows you to kill most planeswalkers that are relevant, like Jason Mindsculptors, all that kind of stuff that might be problematic. Hang of the Gods against creature decks, exiling them as well, exile trigger. Always bring this in against burn, or maybe even dredge and all that kind of stuff. Crucible Worlds, in case your opponent is playing a land destruction kind of deck, you can bring them back from your graveyard, hopefully with Crucible Worlds. And also, if you're playing, against a deck that might be gaining a lot of life, Crucible Worlds helps you to get extra triggers from your graveyard with your Wooded Foothills and anything that you sacrifice with Scapeshift. So against most decks, this does pretty well. It doesn't seem to struggle too much against Tron. It probably has the hardest time against possibly burn decks or boggles. Boggle decks, those are probably the strongest decks against Valakutshift that you have in the format. Otherwise, this deck does pretty well against most other decks. Here we've got a kind of breakdown as well. I like to look at these breakdowns. So we've got your mana curve. So a lot of 2 and 3 mana spells. So those are your ramp spells and your creature spells in here as well. So first couple of turns, that's what you want to be doing. And then you got your bigger spells, your Primeval Titans and your Scapeshifts at 4 and 6 mana. Plays 8 mythics in the main, 2 mythics in the side, 28 rares in the main, 5 in the side, 4 uncommons, 8 in the side, 13 commons, and obviously the other way to win the game as well, if they do have a lock on you in terms of unable to deal direct damage to them, is using the Field of the Dead as a 2/2 zombies, making an army and attacking in with your Field of the Dead. That's another way you can win the game. So that is my quick deck tech for you guys. There will be links in the description for the deck lists. I play this at tournaments. I win constantly with this deck. It's one of the strongest decks in the format currently. I never do really bad with it at all. I always usually come first or in the top probably 4 in tournaments with this deck. Very, very strong deck. Lands are obviously very hard to interact with, so that's where the strength of this deck comes from. So as always guys, thanks for watching. Everything on this deck has resolved, and good games everyone.
G'day everyone, it's the Gatherer here. Thanks for checking out the channel. And if you live in Australia and love Magic the Gathering, then our affiliate Facebook group, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, is the place to go to purchase awesome singles and sealed product for bargain prices. It's a page where you can bid daily for the cards you need, or for the cards that you don't but can't resist, as the thrill of the hunt is too much to pass. Check them out in the link below.